Hi, welcome to the METAcast. It's episode 4, and I'm your host, Michael, and joining me today is Alistair.
Hello.
And David.
Hello.
Not in any order, because we're not players here.
Just talkers, just voices in your head.
Players in the game of life.
Yep.
Speaking from the car door.
A terrible, terrible game of life.
So, getting this episode's meta rule out of the way, don't talk about Fight Club, which is a weird rule to make because there's actually Fight Club news to come out to talk about Fight Club in the first time in so many years since that movie came out. There's actually new news.
What happens if you break the rule, though?
You don't want to know. Do I need to make a second rule? A second rule? You don't talk about Fight Club.
Yep.
It's a good rule.
It is a good rule. Shall we check in with the scoreboard?
Let's.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there in our faces. Alistair, you're still coming first.
Yep.
Congratulations.
A very solid 7 win to 5
It's
loss
very
ratio.
solid.
Like, that is solid.
We've been systematically recording videos without you so we can get back up there and you're still beating us.
Now I'm back.
You're nearly there, though, except your loss ratio is out of control.
Yeah.
But I suppose Al had to win something.
When I was doing this week's meta play for when this comes out, I was adding to the new scores, and I was like so happy that you and Johnny had the same amount of losses as me, and then I realized that I hadn't put down my loss for that episode, and so then I was like, oh no, it's not equal.
Yes, you have the most losses.
I do. So I'm in second place with 6 wins and 12 losses. Actually, did we say Alistair's wins and losses?
No.
I don't think we did. You've got 7 wins, 5 losses.
Yes.
And then I'm 6 wins, but 12 losses. A lot more losses.
It's because you've played every game.
Yes, I have.
Unlike everyone else on the
It's
scoreboard.
the curse of player 1. And then Connor's coming in 3rd place with 3 wins. He's pretty decent.
Not bad.
And 6 losses. That's like a, 50% win rate.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a 50% win rate as well, so...
So if we were doing this on ratios rather than actual scores, you and Connor would be equal.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I'd still be coming second.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Johnny is in 4th place, 2 wins and 11 losses.
Disgraceful.
So I think he's got maybe the worst. Probably not, considering you have 0 wins.
I have 0 wins.
But we'll get to that. Vanessa is in 5th place with 0 wins and 1 loss, which is just luck because she hasn't been in a lot of videos. So she automatically defaults.
She did well, though, so there's a good chance that
There is.
something is going to happen. I got pretty close to some wins.
You did get pretty close to some wins.
And
And each time I was just like, denied. I was like, no, I need this more. This is more important to me. But yeah, Vanessa can actually play games, which is good because
it's an important feature.
I assembled this team of Avengers to be like, let's play video games with my friends. And then I was like, I thought my friends were better at video games than this. And a lot of them aren't.
I'm sorry that I'm your worst video game friend.
That's all right.
I'm a better spectator than I am gamer.
You are. Shaylee is in 6th place with 0 wins and 8 losses.
Almost the fewest games played.
Nearly. And then David, you're in 7th place.
Lucky 7.
We had to add a 7th place for you.
7 is God's number.
Is it? How so?
It's something in the Bible. There's like 7 this, 7 that, 7 this. So it's like God's number. And his number is 777. That's why Satan's 666, because he was trying to be God and failed and he got short. And
Condemn
there's like a whole
mother,
there's like
but
a whole
they know
thing.
exactly what they do. That's what the Antichrist says. But yeah, you're in 7th place, no wins, but 11 losses. Ouch. It's okay.
In a way, I'm disappointed that I don't have the most losses. Because if I had 13 losses, for example, I would at least be winning at losing.
What happened like a couple of months ago when you realized that you were only like Johnny was like 1 winner ahead of you, and you were like, my goal is to beat Johnny, just to be higher than Johnny.
Well, now that feels slightly unattainable.
He has 2 wins.
and the
now
same number of losses.
And now you're just like, I have to have more losses than anybody else.
Well, the other alternative is just next time, to make sure I do beat Johnny, I need to win 3 games in one and make sure he doesn't win anything.
Totally.
Just maybe I should be aiming to sabotage Johnny.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know why I haven't thought of that before. I enjoy doing the things that aren't very nice to Johnny.
We all know how much you hate Johnny, as evidenced on every video.
On every video
been in
ever.
with Johnny. I think you might have even like had some bad words to say about him on videos that he wasn't in, which is
like this. Well, he's not here now. He
very cruel.
cannot defend himself.
Stabbing him in the back.
That's all right.
Be a man and insult him to his face.
Well, this is kind of to his face because one assumes he watches these things.
Listens.
And
Yeah.
I'm in front of him and I'm telling him.
And if he doesn't,
Johnny,
just fuck him for not listening.
You know what I think
to
about
this
you.
stuff. So that's the scoreboard out of the way.
Yep. And I've said my piece about Johnny.
Yep. Is that Johnny out of the way now for the whole episode? You don't need to bring him up again?
We'll see. It depends where we go. It depends where we go with stuff.
Yeah.
Rule number 3, don't talk about Johnny.
There goes. I'm just going to be quiet. You might as well mute my channel.
Yep. You sure it's not like a schoolyard crush where you're just like, you just
Like
always
hazing him.
You always like push him over just because like you like him?
I don't know how to flirt with him.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's not that. Though I can see the parallels and they make me feel slightly uncomfortable.
Cool. Cool. It's good. Good to have a bit of uncomfortableness.
Yeah. Lack of understanding of your own feelings.
Lovely. Let's not talk about that.
Sorry.
Let's talk about fun things like video games and stuff.
I've been hitting Bridge Builder on my phone pretty hard. That's my latest gaming excursion.
You're not playing chess with friends anymore?
I'm still playing chess with friends. No. Like the mobile gaming. The mobile gaming, man.
What's Bridge Builder?
So you build bridges
Oh.
over
Get over it.
Oh yeah, over waterways, and you need to get cars, trucks, and exploding trucks over them, and they weigh different amounts, and it's pretty fun and exciting. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Not gonna lie to you, if I built bridges, I wouldn't allow exploding trucks to travel on them.
They are exciting when they fall through the bridge and make the entire bridge explode.
Nice.
So, Oh, and Drug Lord 2, there's a mobile version of that. I don't know if anyone had ever played Drug Lord 2 back in like 2001.
No.
No.
Was
really
it
shitty.
one of those
like,
Facebook games?
2001? No, it's like a Windows game which was
Okay.
really badly programmed and played like AC/DC when you opened it up. And you deal drugs around the world and fly around and buy drugs.
Two drug dealers?
No, just one. It's
one.
called Drug Lord 2 because there was a Drug Lord which was unplayable.
Ah.
But Drug Lord 2 is a classic.
And so how's the
available on
mobile
Android.
port?
It's a bit crashy. It's very similar to the desktop, but equally fun if you played the original.
All right. I want to hear more about this bridge builder. What is it? Is it like a sort of like a 2D Angry Birds physics sort of thing?
Very much so. There was again.
That's what I'm
I went on
imagining.
a retro personal retro gaming odyssey on my phone of going, what games did I enjoy when I was in like year 7?
We should do like a Dungeon Keeper 2 Let's Play.
Oh yes, we should. Does that have multiplayer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up to 4 players. We just have to find 4 PCs that'll run the game properly.
I'm up. No, I'm all over that. That's going in the. Have you got RTS play? It needs a better name than that.
No, I don't. One of my favorite things about Dungeon Keeper 2, which made it like one of my favorite RTSs, was it was always interesting that you didn't control your troops like you did in Age of Empires. Like they were free spirits, and you just had to like, sort of like be this dictator and be like, well, we'll have a casino here and a training pit here, and just like hope that
It's very Peter Molyneux. I think he did the first one, not the second
I
one.
think he had something to do with the first one, but I loved the spell that you could unlock. That you could
First person?
you could take control of any person in your dungeon, and then you could run around and like first person hack and slash with them.
I often went and killed chickens
Mm.
just because it was mildly amusing to do. So that was a great game, and a shame that 3. There's that great trailer on the CD-ROM for 2.
for number 3 that just was basically finished and never came out.
But there was a new one that was like
Yeah,
a really
on
bad
Android.
mobile game. I heard,
It was really
had
bad.
terrible paywalls, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, that's upsetting.
I started playing it with the tutorial, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, so yeah, that room will be ready in 20 minutes, but pay this money to speed it up, and they give you like the money for the tutorial to do it.
So it's
And-
like Tiny Tower.
I didn't know that was in the tiny games as much. It was just really bad in Dungeon Keeper. It was so bad. Like I was playing it, and I was like, it's Dungeon Keeper. It's pretty. It looks just like the old one. And then I just stopped right after the tutorial because I just didn't have any money to do anything, and I couldn't be bothered waiting.
And pay to win is stupid.
It's so stupid.
Very bad.
Yeah. I think they released a second. They're releasing a Dungeon Keeper 2 mobile sequel.
Hopefully with just outright payment.
Or just not payment at all. Like that was one of the worst like backlashes for a pay to win game on mobile that I'd seen in a while.
I'm happy to buy the game.
And they said like they apologized for it and that they won't do it again or something. So
that's a good sign.
We'll see.
Hopefully they just bring out.
I'm much more happy to pay for the game and then it just is the game. I
don't mind if it's like, it's a free game and you unlock the game in the game so that you can like free trial thing. That one makes sense as long as there is just a literal. It's $5, $6, $10, and that's it. Yeah, makes more sense.
I've been the 2 games I've been playing are the same 2 games I've been playing for like the last like 2 or 3 months now. I think, which is The Witcher 3 and Splatoon, and those games are both an example of you buy them and then they're the whole game. And they've both been releasing just new content for free like every week, which I really like.
How is The Witcher 3?
It's so good. So good.
Up to 100 hours myself as well. It's very, very good.
Yeah, and I'm like, is a lot of hours. I'm like 120 or something. I don't know properly. The Galaxy client says I've played for like 29 hours. And I'm like, you're a liar.
Yeah, but guess because Galaxy's not good.
I quite like the it's still in beta, but I quite like it. It's nice. I was running some DOSBox games in it, and there's actually like graphical settings for how to render DOSBox, and you can have like filters and stuff like that. And
aren't those just built into DOSBox if you want to emulate any DOS game with DOSBox?
I think they are, but like I've emulated a lot of stuff, but I didn't really dabble into DOSBox because like setting it up was annoying.
It is complicated.
It's very complicated, and so those settings are probably in DOSBox, but you have
graphically you've got to do them in the.
But you're like typing them into the command prompt of DOS with text, where you just go into like configure, and there's like a Windows style like tick box.
Oh, nice
thing where you can enable things and disable.
What DOSBox games you been hitting up?
Alone in the Dark. Number 1.
Ooh.
I don't know why they're in my library. I don't remember buying them, but I have Alone in the Dark 1, 2, and 3.
Possibly they came for free with something
else. Do you have them in your GOG library?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe I bought them on the cheap and don't remember.
Big Humble Bundle or something.
Yeah, something like that maybe. Because I was like, that's like one of the first survival horror games before Resident Evil 1, like called that type of game a survival horror.
Yeah.
It is hilariously bad and awkward to play.
Could it have been scary 25 years ago?
I don't think so. People like complain about more of the more recent Resident Evils, like especially with 5 and 6, but then even like Revelations, they're like, it's not very scary, but like the Resident Evil games have never been particularly scary as horror games.
They're not horror games in the sense that they make you feel scared.
The atmosphere is always really cool, but not in the same way that, say, like Evil Within, which is just like Resident Evil 4 because it's created by the same guy who created Resident Evil 4. But that is 100% a horror game. And when I play that and put on my headphones and have surround sound, all of the like audio mix is so full on, and the imagery and how dark it is that I just get really tense playing it, and I can't play it for more than like half an hour sittings, and then I have to stop and come back to it.
That's quality horror game design, like Silent Hill or something like that.
Which is quality horror game, but for me, loving Resident Evil, I'm glad that it isn't like that, because I can like just play Resident Evil for however long I want and not be like, I can't take this. I need to like have some fresh air and not hear all of these crazy.
Similar to like The Last of Us or something like that, where it's horror, but it's not like scaring you moment to moment.
And I think the only actual Resident Evil game that's scary is Resident Evil 3, but that's just because it has really good jump scares. Because in Resident Evil 2, they used to have jump scares, but they were really obvious because they're the pre-rendered backgrounds, and you're like 3D running around in them. And you're in the police precinct, and there's all these boarded up windows, but the boards on the windows are polygoned boards.
So you can tell there's something's going to happen.
I can tell something's going to happen, and then like the fifth time you walk past it, like zombie arms come out through the windows and try and grab you. And it was kind of like a jump because you didn't know when it was going to happen. But in Resident Evil 3, they do such a good job of like the pre-rendered background door like explodes open, and it's like normally you would be able to tell if it was like a 3D door.
But they've done it as a
But they do a
pre-render
really
thing.
good job. And so I would like be jumping and playing that game a lot. But still, not a scary game.
I couldn't play Dead Space 1 for more than like an hour at a time.
Yeah, Dead Space is like that.
Sense of dread just bears you down, and you just need to get away for a bit.
It's crazy. I remember playing like the first one, and like there'd just be so many enemies that would like sort of like jump scare you because they would appear when you like weren't expecting it. And I remember seeing their like weird outstretched arm talon things come around behind over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I could see that it was behind me, and I got so freaked out, and just like it was great. So good. Those games are good.
That early stuff of having I can't remember the name for the style of shadow it is, but those hard-edged shadows had like Doom 3. They were scary when they were new because they were like
I remember Doom was scary. That was one of those other things where it was technically it was like crazy. You couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like you play that little bit of the level where it's like, oh, hell hasn't gone to Mars hasn't gone to hell yet. You're like, this is cool. And then all the demons come in through the portal, and you're trying to run back to the base that you came from, and like you go to walk upstairs, and an imp jumps out of the stairs, and like the stairs bend open, and it like swipes at you, and you're just like, how the fuck is this happening? Like, how can this enemy like interact with an object like that?
Yes.
So you just wouldn't expect an enemy to come from you from that angle because
you know you've played like Half-Life or whatever else beforehand. Nothing like that ever happens. And then in this, it's like, no, the environment can do shit.
But then the more you play Doom 3, you're like, oh, this is just a monster closet. Every single thing is like, I walk into a room and there's an object and I pick it up, and then all these doors open or close and enemies come out of them and the lights turn off.
Yeah, Doom does get
and it was just that over and over and over again.
But that's it. That's their game design. It's
no, but that's not what their game design was like. Doom, the original Dooms, didn't have that game design at all.
That feels like more of a technical limitation than anything else in the earlier Dooms.
No, the original Dooms have the best game design. It does actually have really good game design. Like I still go back and play the first Doom, and I'm just like, this is still fun as hell.
What was the expansion pack to 2? Because that was the one that I remember playing most.
Final Doom. That was a collection of fan-made levels using the level editor that they put out. And then they actually licensed it. And included in Final Doom is the plutonium experiment.
That's the thing I'm thinking of.
And Evolution, which are like 2 Doom campaigns the length of Doom 2.
One of those, I think, plutonium experiment I played. And probably couldn't play now in that weird thing of, as a child, that was normal. You could play that. Now I'd be confused.
No, they're not. It's not that difficult.
You say that. You're not the spectator.
Oh, I was watching Good Game last night, and I can't remember the name. There was this Star Wars game this guy was talking about, and it looked like Doom 1, but a Star Wars
Dark
game.
Forces.
Dark Forces.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got that on Steam because I bought there was like the Humble Bundle that had all the Star Wars games.
Yeah.
I bought that, and like that game was fun when I first played it. I remember it. I used to have the demo of it on my Windows 95 computer.
Oh,
and
demos.
I played the first level, and that's all you could play. And that was one of those surprising Doom clones that like everybody was using the Doom engine, but this actually had like when you finished the level, you like got to the roof and there was like a landing pad, and your ship like flew down. It was actually like a full polygoned.
Oh, so
ship.
it was using the later version of the Doom engine that was in like Hexen and shit.
I think so.
No, it wasn't poly. It was like what are they called? Voxels.
Voxels? Was it actually voxels?
Yeah, it was weird. They went to
know
voxels first because voxels are easier to render on a CPU than polygons are.
Yeah, so that's right. Yeah, because it wasn't GPU.
Like the old Delta Force games, they were all voxels.
Yeah,
amazing.
So yeah, like that Hexen level of Doom game, but in Hexen, I think you could look up and down and stuff.
I think so. Yeah,
where they didn't enable that for Dark Forces. You couldn't jump either, so it was that old. They were like they were platforming puzzles, but you couldn't jump, so you had to like sprint really fast across a gap to make it, which is really difficult. But Dark Forces, I remember like some friend had it on disc, and I like burnt it, and I was like, yeah, I can actually like finally play the rest of it after just playing this first level over and over again. I got to like the second level, and there are all those crazy pig guys from Return of the Jedi, as enemies, and you're like in these interiors where there's no light, and it was just so dark. I just couldn't do it. It was just too dark.
You just couldn't actually see the enemies.
Couldn't see anything.
That's an example of lighting, though.
Speaking of Star Wars games, I love just how ridiculous they're titled. So you had Dark Forces, which was that game. And then you had Jedi Knight, which was an awesome game. But it was Dark Forces 2. And then you had Jedi Knight 2, which was Jedi Outcast. And they were like, oh, let's like make it a sequel, but we'll give it like a new title, and then the sequel name can be the subtitle. And it's just like, what? That doesn't...
but it's like COD, with Modern Warfare being Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and now it's just Modern Warfare 1, 2, 3, etc.
Yeah, because it was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Yeah, and then it like became its own series.
Yeah.
But I don't even pay attention to those anymore. There's just too
no,
many,
not really.
too many of them.
Well, they just stopped putting numbers up on them besides the numbers in the subtitles. They don't go, oh, it's Call of Duty 5 Black Ops, or Call of Duty 5 World at War, and then Call of Duty 6 Modern Warfare 2. Like,
did you see the trailer for Black Ops 3 Zombie Mode?
I haven't watched it yet. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think
film noir.
Yeah, it's like I always get the periods wrong whenever people bring them up. I think it's 1920 style or whatever. I can't remember, but they're like all gangsters and stuff, and you're going through this city streets fighting the zombies and stuff. And
that's cool.
I can't remember some of the other actors, but I think Ron Perlman's one of them.
Oh, cool.
So I got him looking really nice, and there are all the voices of them and stuff. And
I've been wanting to play the zombie mode again because it was so much fun, but I didn't really want to... I wasn't sure about Black Ops because in... what was that one that just came out? Advanced Warfare, they were like zombies, but they had the exosuits on, so they were like...
Exo-zombies.
Exo-zombies. And that didn't really interest me.
That's what that game mode was called, Exo-zombies.
Yeah, Exo-zombies. And then I wasn't sure about Black Ops 3 because I was like, they've got similar things where like they're got like robot arms and stuff like that. I was like hoping that the zombie mode wasn't like that because I don't want to fight like half machine zombies or like superhuman zombies that are like leaping like 100 meters down the road and stuff. I want to fight like the old slow zombies and have that same thing from like World at War and Black Ops.
Yeah.
So that sounds good if that is going to be more what it's like.
Yeah. I played more zombie mode in Black Ops 2 than... I didn't even finish the campaign of Black Ops 2 and played barely any multiplayer, but I just played the zombie mode a lot.
It was good. I remember World at War being so hard compared to the Black Ops zombie mode because you all started with like bolt action guns.
Yeah, World at War...
I really liked its zombie mode.
Yeah, it was tough. We didn't make it many waves in that little house. That was the only map I played.
Yeah, that was... But we did like really well in the Black Ops one.
Yeah.
We would get so far and you would just be... It would be so amazing if you went into that, whatever that weapon, that crate was. It gave you a random weapon and you would get the phaser.
Ray gun.
The ray gun. There's like that old school, like 1940s, like laser gun from like crappy sci-fi movies.
Zap.
Zap.
Flash Gordon or something.
And then you'd pack a punch it.
Yeah. We have plans to do a trunk play in zombie mode for Call of Duty. So that's something to look out for.
What's the rule set for that?
Don't ask me that question, David. That's the part that's still working on.
That's rule 4.
Still working on
not ask questions about rule sets.
But yeah, that's something that we did recently. We released the drunk play, which is
an unquestionable success.
I think unquestionable. It
no
must
questions.
I got a comment from a stranger on the video. They said, nice. Nice smiley face emoticon. Well,
nice.
It's not the smiley face. It's like the anime one where it's like the eyes are crosses and the mouth is like an uppercase D.
That's a pretty intense level of niceness.
If it was just nice, I would be like, thanks. But like open mouth anime face.
Yeah, I'm picturing a person saying nice and then holding
such
that
a
face
success. That was
fun to do as well.
That was a lot of fun to do, and it was fun to edit. I like most of the videos. I can't be bothered like watching through several times before I like export them to upload. Which I did with the drunk play. I watched it through like 3 or 4 times, and then when I was like watching it through once it was uploaded, I realized that I missed one of Johnny's drinking moments. because
cut to it.
I didn't cut to him drinking at one point.
I didn't notice that you didn't cut to him, but it's just Johnny.
I think it's exactly the same time as either you or Vanessa were drinking. So I was like focusing on that, and I didn't notice that he was just like his card is just sitting there, not moving for 30 seconds. I was just like, fuck.
No, it's not that he was drinking at that point. He just decided to stop.
He just gave up. That's basically what he did.
It's like, I think my blood alcohol's too high. I better just pull over to the side of the road for a minute.
Yep. It was funny editing that video. I was like, a lot of you guys were like really tricky with like how it worked. Like Vanessa was, I noticed almost every single time she went to drink, wasn't that she would stop. She would just like put her hand off the accelerator and then start drinking. And so when you watch her like cuts in the video, it's like you haven't seen the cart come to a stop before it cuts to her drinking. So it's, I would have more to say if like I hadn't won and I was doing it right the whole time. So yeah, well, you guys were cheating
second, and I was doing it right the whole time.
You were doing it right the whole time
because I just drank at the beginning.
It was very impressive how fast you could down a Summersby.
But I think in the last race I nailed it. If we ever play that game again, which we now won't, unfortunately.
No, we definitely will. We're going to come back to it.
I've nailed my technique. It's when I'm stopping because I've been attacked. That's when I'm going to nail that.
That's a good
drink.
way to do it. No, we're going to be playing it again, but we'll be playing it in different Mario Karts.
Ooh.
It'll be like flashbacks.
We're going to go back in time.
Yep.
Regress.
That's what. Back before when I was saying I've been playing The Witcher 3 a lot because it's awesome, and they keep releasing all these quests, and like quests and costumes and items and armor and stuff like that. And like last week's quest or the week before's quest that they released for free is this quest called When the Cat and Wolf Play. And it's really
a great title.
It's this really cool quest where didn't even like know I was doing the quest when I picked it up because I just got this monster contract and it's for this village, and you're like, okay, so there's this monster attacking this village. I'm going to go sort it out. You get to the village and everyone in the village has been murdered. And you're like, what the fuck happened here? And you sort of do your Batman detective, like finding clues and following tracks and stuff like that. And you find this girl who's a survivor, and she tells you how it's like this other Witcher came and killed the monster, but then he killed everyone. And so then you sort of follow him, and then you find this Witcher from the School of the Cat, which is really cool. They were like, you've sort of been taught while playing Witcher 3 that like the School of the Cat are like, they like went a bit crazy. And like all the witches from that school are a bit weird. And you sort of confront him and you can like fight him and stuff. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
These Witcher 3 quests sound incredible.
They are.
Nah, even the side quests, they just got every side quest has a little twist to it where you can go one way or the other, and yeah.
It's like
amazing design.
The way they went about doing the quest, it's not like you have, these are main quests and these are side quests, and the content in a main quest is this, and then the content of a side quest is this.
Yeah.
It's determined on like, they're just like, oh yeah, all the content from all of those quests, it's like always in there, but a main quest is only if it follows and is directly responsible for the main plot.
Yeah.
And then all the other side quests are stuff where it's like, yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with that main one plot, but it still is like
a full quest.
A 4-hour long insane quest with all these cutscenes and like locations and stuff like that you wouldn't go to otherwise. So cool.
How many staff do they have at CD Projekt Red?
It's pretty small. I've heard like stories that like they're pretty like slave drivers there or something. I don't know. The team is like a couple of hundred guys maybe. I know the budget was like 15 million or 10 million or something.
Which is nothing for
Which
that
is
amount of
nothing
content.
compared to, I think, GTA 5. I saw like a little like...
It was over 100,
It was like a
wasn't
meme
it?
picture. It was like GTA 5 was like $200 to $250 million. And then Destiny's like $500 million.
Yeah, I have heard, because people talk about that Destiny one a lot, I have heard that is the marketing budget for...
yeah, I'm sure
from
that
Activision to Bungie for the 10 years of the franchise.
Yeah, exactly. I was
more
sure
realistic.
with Destiny, it was like they are marketing the fuck out of that game, and the fact that they said that it's going to be a 10-year thing that they're trying to do, like it would be like ongoing. That's similar to like Avatar was. I forget now because it's been so long, but like the budget was like 200 million.
Yeah,
but then the marketing budget was like 150 million.
Which is pretty standard. And that's the thing with movies is there's no middle budget movies anymore.
No.
Because you make it a $25 million movie, you still need to spend $100 million to market it. So why not make the $75 million?
Otherwise, that $25 million movie, even if it's amazing, doesn't get seen by anyone.
And it doesn't make back its 25.
Yeah.
So you either need to go low and not spend much on marketing, or high.
Yeah.
Apparently.
But yeah, like, yeah, they've it's definitely like a much smaller crew and a much smaller budget than most open world games.
We just think with storylines
so
that
big.
long and that complicated, like, is there a writer and a designer making the quests, or is it like just the designer comes in, it's like, I want to fucking tell a story and I'm going to do it.
And
then
I'm not sure exactly.
You voice act the whole thing, and there's like so many elements to it. You're like, it's insane.
There was a quest writing team, I remember reading in an interview, and there was like a lead quest designer, and then they had the team, and then some of them would make side quests because some of them are completely just separate, just like the like the short stories from the books. It's just like that, and you're like, this is amazing. And then some of them are like, you spend most of the first half of the game, which I think is the first half. I think like I hit the halfway point, and that's from what I'm judging on. The first half, you're looking for your surrogate daughter, Siri, and most of it is going to a place, being like, I've heard she was here, and you're meeting these characters that like most of them you know already from previous games in the books, and they help you or you have to help them, so then they tell you what's going on and stuff. And so that's how all of these characters get involved into the story. But then once they help you find out the information that you're looking for Siri, then you keep going on the main quest. But then you go, oh yeah, but your friend Dandelion, there's a huge long quest, like 5 to 10 hours I reckon I spent like doing quests with Dandelion and stuff like that.
That had nothing to do with his main plot.
Yeah, there was all about this pub that he like inherited, and he's like doing up and trying to run and stuff.
That sounds like a GTA side quest. Oh, go and get me paint.
It is, but it's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like a fetch. None of them are like fetch quests. They're all like, all of the actual story in it is really interesting. And some of it does get a little bit fetch questy because everyone's just like, hey, Geralt, I've got a problem. Fix it for me. And you're like, all right. And then sometimes you're like, pay me. And then sometimes you're like, you're my friend, so I'll do this.
Is that your call, or is
it is your call?
You can even barter for more money on some of the quests.
And then there's some things where I think it was definitely with the Dandelion one, the stuff that you can do where you're like, there's the options where you're like, no, I don't want to help you, and you just won't do the quest. Or you can be like, okay, what do you need? I'll go do this. And then there's a third option where you're just like, why don't I just give you the money? And so I don't have to go running around doing errands for you. And so you can kind of like just speed up the process with some of the quests, which is cool.
You can pay your way, although it's not with real money.
No, it's with the money that you get in the game, which is like has a balance.
Which is the right way to be able to do this stuff.
Yes, it is.
Well, the best way to finish some of those quests is just Jedi mind trick your way out of them with one of the signs. It's really cool. Just influence people.
Yeah, and they're just like, okay.
Oh yeah, he went that way.
Yep.
And there was something like 175,000 lines of dialogue or something.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah,
there is a lot.
How even the dialogue recording for that could be done for that budget is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wanted to do an anime movie, it would cost more than that to record.
Well,
dialogue.
they always have video games always do this where it's just like there's like the main cast and then extras. They'll just have like 3 or 4 people do the voices for the 90% of the other people in the game.
Yep.
That's pretty common.
Like 90s TV kids animations.
Yeah, and so like when I've looked up actors on their IMDb's to be like, oh, what else has he voice acted? And like so many video game credits that are just like additional voices. And that's all they say.
Villages 1 through 3.
Yep. Yeah, they don't even bother with extra names. But yeah, it's just such a good game. It's so interesting. Yeah, so then it's sort of funny because you played Mass Effect 2?
No.
So these side quests that you can do with these other characters that are totally optional, they sort of turns out that it's similar to the way that Mass Effect 2 worked, where it's like there's this big event that you have to prepare for, and it's this kind of like, point of no return that you get to, and you can like recruit friends to help you. And so it's sort of like, if you've done this quest to like gain their trust or do something for them.
The loyalty missions.
Yeah, it's like loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2. And so then you can like get them to be part of this like crazy event that happens.
That's cool.
Wherein that's sort of what I think is the halfway point in the game, is that point.
Yeah.
Where in Mass Effect 2, that's like the last quest of the game.
Yeah, you're building all the way up to that.
Yeah, there's just lots of cool little nods to things from the books, as always, in the games. Like, they get the lore so well. Like, I often say this, I don't know, I've probably said it on The Witcher 2 Let's Plays that we've done, where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know an example of like, this is of someone doing a better adaptation of like, of a fantasy or a sci-fi world.
Yeah, they actually
They've
owned it more than the originals.
Yeah, they nail it so well that there's just no like disputing it. Where like Lord of the Rings, it's like those are fantastic movies, but then like people who love the books can be like, oh, but they changed this thing and that thing, and
yeah, and then there's the video games which don't
off.
even like fit into the lore properly for whatever reason.
Where this game, it's like the only things that they've ever done to change the lore is like in Geralt should just be able to see in the dark pretty easily.
Yeah.
Where in this they like sort of make him you have to drink a potion to be able to see in the dark.
Which is reasonable.
Which is sort of like one of those video games things where it's like, oh, it's a video game. Here's this video game element to it. And the other thing is they changed sort of the way the potions work in Witcher 3 so that they're easier. So instead of having to brew a potion and then drink it before a fight, and you've got this toxicity level, now it's like when you brew a potion, you have that potion and you have like 3 doses of it. And then whenever you meditate, you just use a bottle of alcohol to refill those potions. And so then you have another 3 doses of it. And you can use those. You can just use those during combat. You can like quick assign 2 potions to the D-pad, and that is just a gameplay thing. Yeah, that's basically it. Like you can have a torch, and you can like walk through caves with like a lit torch, and you're like, you should be able to just see in the dark. But other than that, it's like nothing about the world have they ever like gotten wrong with or anything.
Yeah.
And so I did this quest ages earlier on. When you first meet up with Triss again, and you're helping her like kill rats in this like person's cellar with poison. And after you like put the poison down and you're just sort of waiting for all the rats to like run out of the building or whatever, you're like sitting there and you talk with Triss, and he just brings up this thing. He's like, once I killed a rat by like throwing a knife like in pitch black. He's like, I saw a rat and I just like threw a knife at it. And I was like, that's from the book. And it's so fucking random that he just like mentions it out of nowhere. But yeah, I've very, very much like that game. And all of the characters are so interesting. I'm like so much more invested. Like Batman came out and I was like, oh, do I want to pick up this open world game? And I was like, I lost interest with Arkham City because it was too big. And there wasn't enough like interesting stuff to do. Because all those Riddler trophies are like the bad kind of side questy stuff, where there's like a little bit of a payoff that's like an actual quest where you can like meet the Riddler and you beat him or whatever. But most of it is just like running around the city being like, oh, here's a trophy on a roof. Oh, this one's got a cage around it. I have to like do this funny puzzle with my like batarangs to open up the cage to get the trophy.
Pointless, infamous stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, the other game, that other game that I was saying about is Splatoon, where they've just been releasing stuff sort of weekly-ish, where this is stuff that you can tell is just like it's in the game, because if you play the short couple of hour like single player mode, some of the maps from multiplayer are in the campaign levels, but they've just been sort of altered so that it's got like a linear path to the level.
Yeah.
And so like 3 of the DLC maps that they've released after launch were in that campaign mode.
Yeah.
But it was just, I just really enjoyed that they released that game, and it didn't, like, it was a little bit low on content, but the core game is so much fun that I didn't really mind.
Yeah.
So it started off with like 4 maps or something, and you just get time to like really learn those maps. And the way it works in the matchmaking is that it's like every 4 or 5 hours, it changes what maps are in the rotation. And so when you play the standard mode, it says, oh, these are the 2 maps that are playable right now. And so you can only play those 2 maps, and it'll randomly, that'll happen randomly when you join a game. And then a few hours later, then it's like, oh, now we've changed to these maps. And so you just get a lot of time to like learn those maps really well. So you know like a good strategy to use on that map. And then a couple of weeks later when they're like, oh, we released this one map, then it's in all the rotations for the first like 6 hours. And so you're always going to like play it when it's shown up. And then you get to learn that one. Pardon me. Instead of there being like 8 or 10 maps and you're just like, I don't know any of these and stuff like that, and everyone's just killing you with it. It's like, no, I can like learn these couple, and I've got that down, and then when they release, I only have to like learn one new map when they release it.
Yeah, because you already know.
And they just keep releasing more weapons, and they released like 2 new game modes in it and stuff, and so it's like that's really cool. And if they just keep releasing stuff like that, I'll just keep coming back to it every week to like play the new stuff.
There's just more and more content.
Yeah, and they said that like in August or something, it's going to get an update to have like proper matchmaking, because being Nintendo, they're not the best at multiplayer. But like Smash has been really good, and Mario Kart has been really good with multiplayer. And this isn't terrible. It's more just like you only have the option to like you play a match, or then you can join a friend's match, and you look at your friends and it'll say which ones are in matches that you can join, but you're not guaranteed to be on their team.
Yeah.
So that like you can play with them for 1 round and be on their team, and then the next round you're on the opposite team and stuff. And so they said that like there'll be matchmaking, so you can like party up, which is cool.
Nintendo news: the president died.
Yes,
something?
yes. CEO Satoru Iwata died this week. That's pretty sad.
He was a developer for them.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. There was people were rumoring that like his health wasn't very crash hot because he didn't come to last year's E3 because they said that he was having an operation on his bile duct. And then he didn't come to this E3 either. He recorded like his voice was in the Nintendo Directy sort of event, but it was for the Muppet version of him. So it was like he just recorded a voice and stuff for it. But then it turns out that he's had like cancer in his bile duct. So like some people were like, oh, is it because some people were like, why isn't he showing up to E3? Are they like going to fire him, or is he not well or something? And then it does turn out that he's been fighting cancer for the last couple of years.
And they've just been keeping that on the low.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. He wasn't very old. 50s.
No, 55.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. Like he doesn't need to tell.
No, it's a very private thing.
Yeah.
Although hopefully that was the reason they had the Muppet, because that Muppet was great.
I think they just had the Muppets because it was just fucking fun as hell to have these freaking crazy Muppets of like the CEO and president of Nintendo America, Reggie. I don't know what he is. He's one of those. What's like, because you got the CEO and then you got like a different one that's like the CAO or something.
There's like COO, CTO, CEO.
Yeah, he's like one of those. So he's like president of Nintendo America, but he's one of those. And like all of those guys like dancing around as puppets and being idiots. It's so funny and just crazy.
Satoru Iwata like took responsibility for the failure of the Wii U and took like a big pay cut
of like half his pay
and kept working and stuff. So yeah.
Because whenever you hear about the investor meetings at Nintendo and like shareholders, they're always like such idiots that they're regular shareholders expecting that Nintendo works like a regular business. So they're like, oh, there was what's that opposite to a profit?
Deficit.
Loss?
Yeah, well, like when they're like, oh, they recorded a loss this financial year, the CEO should like step down, and then he like didn't, and they're like, this is ridiculous. Why isn't he like? And then you're like, this is
because it's a Japanese company and they've got
That's
the interesting.
And then there's other ones where people have talked about like the smartphone stuff, and when they're like, why can't Nintendo like stop producing hardware and just do the software and stuff like that? This doesn't make any sense. And I went to the meeting and all they talked about was like their game lineup and like what their plans were for that, and they didn't talk like very businessy. And they're like, it's Nintendo. They're a different company, and to just expect that you're going to be a shareholder like other public traded companies is so stupid.
But that's that Japanese business culture where they actually don't like competing with other Japanese companies. That's why Nintendo isn't like Sony.
Yeah,
with what consoles they make and the games they make and what they try to do.
Which is good though, because then you get the variety.
But that's awesome. And there's examples with the other electronics giants in Japan versus one another where they were like trying to help each other compete with like Korea by doing different things rather than just all competing with each other.
It'll be interesting to see what they do for their next console. It's presumably going to be not too far away.
Yeah.
And if they go the route of like a PC architecture behind it so they can get the third-party developers to get the games back in on it.
It's interesting. It's interesting
because
like,
are they going to try and compete at that same level?
Well,
they announced that like they have said that they want third party developers, and that's difficult because whenever they're making these sort of innovative different boxes, then it makes it hard for the third parties to develop their stuff for it, so then they just get left out whenever
They just don't get ports of other consoles games, or if they do, they're shit.
Which means that like the lineup is like you got to buy a Nintendo product to be like, yeah, I'm buying it for all the first party Nintendo games, which is what I do, and I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah, because they have good first party games.
But for people who can only afford one video game console and they're like, which one am I going to buy? Like, you're probably not gonna like the Wii U isn't going to get picked most of the time.
Yeah, it's not like that same situation where you go, oh, well, I'll always be able to play the latest GTA, the latest this, the latest that. So I just need to choose between Microsoft first-party titles and Sony first-party titles.
Or you can just be like, I'll just go PC
only
and get
Nintendo
like
games.
The majority of stuff.
And no exclusives, other than PC exclusives, which are finally becoming a thing again.
XCOM 2. If you're an XCOM fan, that's a PC exclusive. Yeah, so they said about their Nintendo NX, which is like the code name for the new console, at one of the shareholders' meetings. Or it wasn't the shareholders' meeting. It was like when they announced that they're doing the mobile games.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like more just to say like we're still going to make dedicated hardware and we're not getting out of the hardware business. But then everyone's like, how soon is it? Blah blah blah. And then when they're like, yeah, we're not going to talk about it at E3, people are like, oh, why not? And it's like, well, obviously it's probably pretty far away. Like, Microsoft and Sony start work on their next consoles the second like the Xbox One and PS4 ship, and that's just how it is basically. Yeah. And like anyone that's like followed like the way video game consoles are released, like knows that Nintendo would have been working on a new console already,
probably before the Wii U.
And then there's been some rumors come out about the NX. Like a lot of people want it to be some sort of like handheld / home console hybrid thing.
Well, given that we've now got decent video streaming, I mean, they did it with the Wii U for the handheld thing, but like you can get decent going to your TV stream with just a dongle. They could totally go in that direction.
Yeah, well, that's the sort of the question where it's like, oh, with the new 3DS, we've got like almost as many buttons as on the gamepad.
Yeah.
The only thing it doesn't have is like clickable thumbsticks. So that's like 2 buttons it's missing out of the whole thing.
And that's because they're trying to make it portable. Whereas if you're like, oh, well, it's portable in the way that an external hard drive is portable, then you could make it as big and thick and lovely as
and it's sort of funny because there was a patent that came out that leaked a while ago that was of a Nintendo handheld that like the diagram sort of showed the look of like a DS flat thing, but it had interchangeable like buttons that like slid off from the sides. And so it was like people speculating that it was like, oh, maybe you can like be like, oh, I'll remove the circle pad and put like a full analog stick there, or I'll remove the circle pad and put the D-pad there. And I can have 2 circle pads and I can make it offset like an Xbox controller if I want, or I can make them.
See, that's a cool idea, but that couldn't be your main thing. That's what you sell and that's what people buy. That's like a pro controller type thing, surely.
Yeah, don't know. Well, it's sort of
like that's just too fiddly. When Nintendo's aiming at 5 to 13,
it would remove like the differences between. Oh yeah, here's the Circle Pad Pro accessory, or here's the new 3DS compared to the old.
Yeah, well, that was
3DS.
That was messy.
But yeah, it's like, is that actually got anything to do with what they're making, and does that have anything to do with NX? But there was another rumor that came out that the NX might be going, instead of a PC architecture, going for an Android architecture.
Oh, like with an ARM chip
and so it's like, oh yeah, so they're going to be releasing mobile games, and then they would also be playable on the home console as well as on mobile, and then they release their first party stuff, which is still like exclusive to this proprietary Android box, which is interesting.
Interesting,
because then it's like,
and then a couple of years down the track, when Android normal devices are at the same hardware level, because if they're bringing out like an Android console, it's not going to be like an Ouya cut price job. Surely it's going to be like, oh, 64-bit's got 4 gig of RAM or whatever. It's competitive with the other consoles. It's just ARM and 64-bit Android stuff. It wouldn't quite be Ouya, but it probably wouldn't be competitive with the other consoles, because if they shoot in the middle like a shield.
From what I like think is from if they were to go the Android route, that's the idea of being like, we can get third-party developers who develop mobile games to develop for the console, and so then that's how they can get a big stream of third-party stuff. So there's more to offer for the console, and not like
Not
couldn't
that
see
there's
them
very
going
many amazing Android games.
Not that there is, no, but I couldn't see them going an Android route and be like, this will help us get the next Assassin's Creed in our box. Like, if they wanted to do that, they would have done something different.
Yeah,
and like
you said, Alistair,
it would always
PC.
Yeah, and it would always be mid-range because they never go because it's always about price, so they're never gonna.
Well, they gave up on that with like the GameCube was the last time they were trying to be competitive.
The Wii was competitive in price.
It was competitive.
Oh, you mean in hardware-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, because it actually had like the best hardware of all three.
Yeah.
It was sort of that case of the PlayStation 3 where it was like, it was so different and strange that's why like
when they didn't get used well. When
they've ported Resident Evil 4 to PS2 for the first time, it wasn't just, like the PS2 couldn't handle as much as the GameCube version, but that wasn't the 100% the reason why all of the shaders and the fog effects weren't in there. It was also because that was designed specifically for that really weird GPU thing that
it had a proper GPU, unlike the PlayStation 2, which had it had a GPU, but it wasn't called that. It was some weird proprietary chip.
Yeah. And then it took a while to like actually be able to like emulate the way the GameCube rendered stuff to be able to do that. And so that's why it took so long to get that Resident Evil 4 HD version that actually like had all of those effects in there again. Compared to they did the Wii port, but then that's sort of the thing where it's like it's just the same architecture. It's just like that
was the thing. The Wii was just the GameCube.
It was just an overclocked GameCube, basically. I listened to IGN's Nintendo podcast, and they had a guy on there that worked on all the Rogue Squadron games, and he was really interesting because they were the guys that did the do you know the N64 game Battle for Naboo?
Yeah.
And it was ridiculously good looking
because
they rewrote like all of the rendering stuff on the 64. So
it like played so well.
That game looks like a PS2 game. So those were the guys that did that. And they also did that Indiana Jones game that was really impressive on the 64.
I didn't know there was an Indiana Jones game on the 64.
Yeah, last time I tried emulating it, it didn't emulate because it's too totally different.
It's annoying.
So it was really interesting. He was dishing all these secrets, and he was saying that he was was involved in Nintendo with the launch of the Wii, and that they actually had a prototype that was equally spec'd device to the 360 and the PS3. They had that as an option, and that was the more expensive option, but they went with the overclocked GameCube style thing.
Just for price.
For price, to beat out on price. So that's really cool that it was like, there was like an HD Wii console sort of there that was like as good as the 360.
That would have been an interesting decision for them to have made.
And like maybe that's what the Wii U ended up being. Like that might have been
they just held it around and made it later.
Well, because the Wii U is like
it's 360. It's slightly better than a PS3.
Slightly better, but like
only in that it's simpler.
Yeah, but it's like the games that did get ported to it weren't as optimized as well as the 360 PS3 versions. So like Batman and Assassin's Creed 3 ran like shit on the Wii U anyway, even if it was, in theory, had a little bit more horsepower.
Did you see that hybrid PlayStation Nintendo that guy found in his attic?
Yeah, the guy found the Nintendo PlayStation. Like
that's right, because what the PlayStation was originally going to be
was one of those expansion. It was a disc expansion thing that like the SNES would like snap on top of, sort of like the that weird Sega one that was apparently terrible. It was like the 32X or whatever. They did it.
Segas were so confusingly named.
They had a whole bunch of them, and also like the PAL version was named differently to the NTSC version. So the Mega Drive in Europe and Australia was the Genesis in America or something like that.
Oh, I thought they were different things. So that's how confusing it is.
There was, it is confusing. I think it was like the Genesis is the same as the Mega Drive. And then there was like the Saturn that came after.
Yes. And Saturn was pretty cool.
They stopped doing it with that as much. So then it was like the Dreamcast and the Saturn with the same name everywhere else.
And there's only 200 of these PlayStation Nintendos made. And they all got ordered to be destroyed.
Oh, right.
And his dad like...
Because I didn't even think that there was maybe that many.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was just like maybe it was just the prototype one.
No, and his dad like smuggled it out of the building.
Yeah, he like worked as like he was just like they basically put him in charge of just like chucking away everything. And he was like, oh, this prototype. And he was like, I'm going to steal this instead of chuck it away.
Does it work?
I think
they
he
don't
said
know.
I saw it on the video. He needed a new power supply to get it working.
Yeah, they didn't have the power supply for it.
And he's got a cartridge for it that's blank.
There's a SNES cartridge, and they're not sure what's on it, which is sort of weird because they're like, oh, is this some sort of debug different Mario game that could have been or something? But I don't know why it's on the SNES cartridge when the whole point of it was that it ran on CDs.
Maybe you needed a SNES cartridge to load CDs.
Maybe.
Like, because that would make sense. It's like, it couldn't just hijack the whole thing. You'd need to go through the way the SNES originally worked.
Yeah.
Surely.
But yeah, that was really cool, that picture. And it's like, it looks legit. And there are SNES controllers that just look like SNES controllers, but they say PlayStation on them instead of Nintendo. It's really weird.
With the whole retro throwback thing,
yeah,
it was in my head before. I've forgotten the name of the game. It's a recent game. This guy's put on practically every platform. It's like 3DS and everything. And he's written a DOS port that'll fit on a floppy disk, and he hasn't released it yet because he wants to get the floppies manufactured, and he's having some trouble finding a way to do that.
That's funny.
But he had to work really hard to get like a 128 meg game down to 3.14.
Wow, that's incredible.
And did it.
That's pretty cool.
And it runs on DOS.
Like
in a DOS box.
Speaking of that sort of thing, like I saw a video, a guy rewrote Doom to run in assembly on a Raspberry Pi.
That would run well.
It's quite cool. I watched the video though, and it's not like this is the Doom engine running. Like it is a first-person shooter that is Doom, and it's got the same sprites, but it's like, oh, the speed that he walks at and like the speed that the guns fire is slightly different and stuff.
Like all those Doom ports that came out on like the iPod when you put or just hacked operating system on it and stuff like that. It's like, it's not Doom.
Or just the SNES port of Doom, which was actually done by John Carmack, I think.
I didn't know he did that.
It was like a sort of butchered version of Doom that didn't quite run.
Because you couldn't run a full PC sort of software on it.
Speaking of those sorts of things, there are like people who make these these games that run on like NESs and SNESs and release them on cartridges like today.
Yeah.
Which are pretty interesting. And when we were talking about the Sega things, there's this really weird thing where it's like you can play Mega Drive games on a SNES with a like cartridge adapter that you can buy as a third-party thing. Like there is a third-party thing that you can plug into your SNES so that it will run real Mega Drive games on a real SNES just with that adapter.
That's insane.
It's fucking crazy.
Make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's insane.
They're different platforms.
Yeah, you're like, shouldn't there be some there must be some sort of like hardware that is
can't
in
just
there.
Be, like relaying the pins or something.
Yeah.
You seen the trailers for Batman vs Superman new one?
Yeah, I saw that trailer. That was much more interesting than the first little teaser.
Yeah, and it's got Batman or Ben Affleck. He's when like Zod. It's got like showing events of like Superman,
Man of
Steel.
When like Wayne Tower got destroyed in Metropolis from the Zod fight, and he's like running into the rubble, and you're like, oh my god, this looks so cool. Like, yeah, I think Batman, like Ben Affleck, looks really good as Batman.
I loved it when he's in the Batmobile and Superman like rips off the doors, and then Batman just gets up very slowly and faces him. It's so cool.
I love the costume. It looks really nice.
It looks massive as well.
I love he's so ripped. It's crazy. He's just this like beefy muscle thing. I much prefer the fabric bat suits. Like you look at like the Arkham Knight Batman suit that he has, and it's just this like mechanical like mech armor thing. I preferred it in like Arkham Asylum when it was just fabric and cool. And I'm like the costumes are really nice in the new DC things, like Man of Steel, like that textured like chainmail sort of tiny thing that they did to the Superman suit made it look really interesting instead of just being like it's red and blue and that's it. Like adding that texture is cool, and there's that cool looking texture to Batman's outfit as well as having.
I think they're designed by the same designer.
I think so.
I remember reading an interview with him about all the different suits and adding like the subtle chainmail texture for that reason, because it's like otherwise it's boring.
It makes it look interesting. Where like you look at like the very first Spider-Man movie, and like they got that costume so fucking perfect the first time. Where it's just like Spider-Man's costume just looks amazing. It's just a really good looking costume.
And that was early, and they did a surprisingly good job of being like, it's an odd costume. Like you look at it in the illustrations, you're like, how are you going to make a physical version of that?
Well, this thing with like, it's always been drawn differently, and also in the animated series, like they would do it where, like, they would only put the webbing pattern on like the blue like chest section V of it, and then they wouldn't bother doing the webbing on the rest, and
because it was too hard to animate in that case.
But I think like the first Spider-Man one, it's got like the webbing, but it also has like a cool texture.
Yeah,
on the cool blue and the red.
There's webbing that's like raised.
Yeah, it is like a raised webbing that's all along it. And yeah, that costume was just fucking cool from the start. And that's just like top notch, amazing. When you look at like the Supermans and then like Superman Returns, where they tried to make it look a bit nicer, but it still just looks like this shiny, plain thing. Then we also see this different Batman outfit where he's like in the trailer where he's wearing like a trench coat over it with like goggles on because he's like in the desert and it's all sandy and stuff. That looked cool. There's a lot in that trailer that's like all this sorts of stuff. Like there's all those notes, like that graffiti note stuff that Batman has in his like Batcave. And it looks like there's like this rumor that it's like Robin has been killed by the Joker in this version of Batman. And there's that suit that he's like looking at that has the writing over it.
Yeah.
And people are like, that looks like a Robin outfit because it's got like a bit of a cape, but it's got like short sleeved and he's holding like a pole. And it's like, that's cool. But he's dead and we don't get to see him.
This is good. Although he's probably not dead. He's probably going to come back and become the next, bad guy.
I don't know. Ben Affleck is going to be writing and directing and starring in the new Batman standalone movie.
He's like taking over as the creative
director.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome because like
Batman movies.
He's a very good director and he's been making some good movies. So I'm like, I'm down for seeing like him do a Batman. That would be really cool.
It doesn't matter how many times I think about it, I still don't really understand directors directing films that they're acting in and doing a good job.
Yeah. But like
he does though.
Mel Gibson did it with Braveheart.
I don't know, something about the scale of that makes that seem achievable. Because there's lots of stuff without like him directly in the scene.
Not that much stuff. He's almost in like every scene.
He's in every scene, but like there's lots of stuff without him in it, if that makes sense.
No, that doesn't make sense.
He's not in every shot.
I get what you mean, yeah. And they did have like just a stand-in for him.
Yeah.
So it's just like when he's directing, there's just a Mel stand-in in the crowd with his face paint on.
There's Mel over there.
The only thing I didn't like from the Batman vs Superman trailer is the Wonder Woman footage. Like she looks cool, but all the footage they used is just like her going like punching straight on towards the camera or like flying straight like back from the camera like she's been punched. I didn't like the look of the shots, but she looks cool.
Yeah.
And basically pretty much like every Justice League member is going to show up in that movie anyway. I don't like that they called it Batman versus Superman. Like, there's barely any good movies ever made that has a versus in the title.
No, but like, it's based on the fact that Marvel, DC aren't very good because Superman's rubbish, he's overpowered, and he's only ever entertaining when he's fighting Batman.
Yeah, totally.
It's the only time he's good.
Suicide Squad looks pretty decent though. A trailer for that just came out as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it got leaked from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And then they just decided to release it anyway. And I think David Ayer, the director or whatever, he was pretty angry about it being released. He's like, oh, it got leaked. That's really unfortunate. So we weren't going to release this trailer, but we were going to release it anyway.
So then they did that.
Like they were going to do another trailer, kind of. We weren't going to release this trailer.
Or maybe it was just going to take time.
Yeah,
sort
I think
of like
it's kind of a strange trailer. They don't show a lot. They just show a lot of the characters.
I kind of like it though because it's like
you can imagine it being exclusive to Comic-Con. And then there's a later theatrical trailer.
Like you could tell that maybe they didn't intend to release this as a theatrical trailer.
Yeah,
but I like it because it doesn't do too much to give away the film. Like it's just showing lots of the different characters and like bits of scenes, and like you see a bit of the Joker in it, and you also see Batman in it. He's like on top of a car,
that's cool.
And you're like, that's Batman. Well, like it was reported that he was like seen on set, and stuff, but not in the costume.
Batman was seen on set.
But yeah, so like that's always an interesting one. Like I've never really like gotten the Suicide Squad where they're just like, here's a bunch of random Batman villains that we're going to make into this weird thing. But like, it looks better than like the like the Green Lantern movie that they did a couple of years back. Like, it looks like they've actually got a vision of like how this is going to play into the Batman versus Superman and the Batman standalone movies and stuff.
And the Justice movie.
Yeah, and the Justice League movie.
I was just realised that Ryan Reynolds is going to be new Deadpool movie.
Yep.
Apparently shaping up really nice. But he was
Green
and
Lantern.
yes, he's done DC and Marvel. I wonder how people have crossed over actors.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a lot. We've got Chris Evans, who was the Human Torch in Fantastic Four, and now he's Captain America. And it's been so long that I don't even think about the Human Torch now.
Tom Hardy was going to be in Suicide Squad, but he backed out, I think.
Yeah, you said he really wanted to do it, but he was doing like Mad Max at the time or something else, something different. Because Mad Max was filmed
Tom
years
Hardy's
before.
in demand. He can do what he wants.
What did he pick? What was his new film?
What's he going to be? He's going to be something, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's going to be someone.
As in a superhero.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Me neither. Yeah, so Chris Evans was like in whatever, was it like a Fox did Fantastic Four?
Yeah, they still own the rights?
Yeah, because they made another one and it's like, I don't know how good that looks. It just looks like another Fantastic Four movie. It's like, give me a reason to like, for this to be interesting.
Fantastic Four weren't compelling as comic book characters.
No, I never liked them. I only liked
like a shitty extra team in the universe for no really good reason.
Well, it wasn't an extra team. They were one of the earliest. Like, they predate Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Spider-Man's first appearance was in like a Fantastic Four comic.
I like that with Marvel, actually, how there's loads of... It's like, oh, they appeared first in this other character's comic.
It's kind of cool, but if you were like actually trying to like collect comics, it would be awful. Couldn't stand it. It'd be so bad.
But trying to collect comics full stop is just the most confusing thing in the world. Because it's like, oh, well, so there's like this alternate like timeline, and then there was like this series of comics, and it was this, and that, and then...
Yeah. Totally.
Give up. Just collect the Phantom. Just get them. They're in order.
But then don't bother collecting the Phantom because they never change past the 21st Phantom.
No, I know, but it still makes it easy because it's just there's one series that's the Phantom in
Yes.
each country. Just get them all in order. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
They're cheap.
They are very cheap. They're still like $2.50 because they're still black and white. They haven't changed since like originally there used to be landscape comics.
Yeah, those I've got a few of those collector ones that
they did in the annual they would release a replica of the early ones. So I've got like 13, 14 and 15 of them.
Yeah.
And you're like, landscape, that's a bit weird. But then again, the Phantom does predate just about every superhero.
Well, also I think that was because those like issues 1 whatever, they're actually from newspapers. They were like strips the width of a newspaper.
Okay.
And then they made the 1, 2, 3s from those. So that's why they're wider.
Because Australia is like one of the only countries in the world that still gets I don't know if it's still like the last like 4 or 5 years ago when I checked last, we were the only country to still get the news strip and the actual dedicated comics.
Yeah.
Where most other countries only get one or the other. And then I've gotten a lot of comics which are, this big long-running serial from the newspaper. We made it into a comic, but it's not landscape. Then they just like recut the frames.
Those
and
are
stuff
modern
like that.
ones,
Yeah. But yeah, ever since they went from like the landscape to the portrait, they haven't changed it since. It's still like color covers with just like black and white comics that are like on that really cheap, thin paper.
Yeah. And a letter from the editor in the front.
Yep.
That's it.
But yeah, he is the original Batman. Like everything that Batman does, like
he's smarter than everyone else.
The Phantom was this smart guy who was like this detective, and he would like put on like his like noirish trench coat and fedora
with his whole outfit on underneath it,
just in case. And then like the whole idea that like Batman is the idea that he strikes fear into his enemy.
And that's the Phantom.
That's what the Phantom
whole
does.
point of the Phantom.
The whole point of the Phantom. And even in the trailer for Batman vs Superman, they show a crook where Batman has like punched like a bat symbol into his chest. Like it doesn't look like it's. I don't know if it looks like it's been burnt.
I can't remember. I thought it was something like
it doesn't look as like. It doesn't look like like when people what's that called?
Brand.
If you're branded with something, I think it would look a bit more fucked up than that. It looks like he's gotten one of his metal batarangs, put it on his chest, and punched it into him. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, he's leaving the bat mark on their body, just like the Phantom would do with his skull ring. When he'd be like, I'll be back for you later, and like punch them in the face, and they would have a scar on their face.
And every time that happens, there's like a 3-panel explanation of how it can't be removed.
Yes.
You see the person trying to rub it out and they can't.
And that was the thing. It was supposed to just be punched in by a ring, but it always looked like it had been branded.
Yeah.
Like it was like this red, like burn melted skin of this skull.
And you couldn't grow hair there and you couldn't cover it up. And
Yeah.
people would have plastic surgery and it would still come back.
Yeah. You couldn't have plastic surgery. You couldn't tattoo over it. You couldn't grow hair over it. It was the mark that like you have been marked for the Phantom and he will come for you.
So good.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, this Batman looks like he's pretty, like he's like the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yeah.
Where he's been around for ages and he's old and he's angry and he's really fucking just like a tank. And they reckon, like the people, I've heard rumors where they say, do you reckon the Joker has like metal grills because Batman punched his teeth out? And I'm like, yeah.
That would be the right
it sounds like it.
version of events
sounds like
there.
it.
And another movie I'm very excited for is The Hateful
Eight.
Yes.
That does look good.
Tarantino's new-
Yeah, Tarantino's new one. I totally had
comes
forgotten.
out in January here.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
movie-
Is that a Western? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's his Western that got leaked. The script got leaked.
That's right,
And he was like, I'm not going to make this. Fuck you guys. And then he was like, fuck you. I'm going to like rewrite it and make it.
But have you seen the poster for it?
I've seen, I don't know. What's on the poster?
Oh,
Tell me.
it's like snowed in, and there's a hut on like a hill, and there's all these guys next to the hut, and then there's another guy. It's like a comic book style, just a drawing, and another guy walking up with a woman towards them up to the hut, and they're all facing him. And then the tagline, it says The Hateful Eight, and the tagline is "No one comes up here for a goddamn good reason," or something like that.
That's funny. No, I hadn't seen that at all. I've seen the like the font of the Hateful Eight, and the 8 in Hateful is like 2 bloody bullet holes that look like the number 8.
Nice.
And it's being filmed. It was probably filmed on 70mm.
Yes,
entirely.
entirely on 70mm. I think.
And I heard
it's supposed
that
to be.
it's being scored by this guy that did Western movies, but he hasn't done a score for a movie in 40 years or something.
What?
It's
That's
coming back for this one,
cray.
That's what happens when you get a crazy director who gets money and famous.
Yep. I was going to say Pacific, but it's not Pacific. But Pacific Rim 2 got announced,
Yes.
which is cool. Although I wish that Guillermo can do his Hellboy 3, because he's like, that's not going to happen. And Ron Perlman keeps like tweeting pictures and stuff.
Ron
and things.
Perlman keps wanting it to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it needs to happen, and I'm like, it does, because it is like a trilogy. His other movie that sounds like a Pacific Rim sequel, Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming out this year, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's like a couple of months away. I totally forgot about it, but then I saw an interview with like Guillermo and Tom Hiddleston and everything, like the cast, and I was like, oh man, that looks so fucking good.
What's it?
That's like the gothic horror about ghosts in that crazy mansion.
Yes.
yeah.
I remember the trailer now.
And it's got what's his name from Sons of Anarchy and Pacific Rim in it. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah. Also in Undeclared, which is very funny to see him in that. He's like, I'm the hot British guy at college in America and I get laid.
Have you seen Green Street Hooligans?
No.
It's Elijah Wood and him.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that that's not a very good movie.
It's on Netflix, I think. I watched the first half. It was kind of strange.
It was literally last night that I was with a friend and we were looking at Netflix and she was like, that's not a good movie.
It's really funny. It's Elijah Wood. He's this American, and he gets kicked out of college over there because some rich kid has drugs in his dorm room and then blames it on Elijah Wood. So he gets kicked over to England to live with his sister, and his sister's partner is brother with Charlie Hunnam, and then there's these football hooligans that just go around and start fights and stuff. It's really strange. And that's basically the movie.
Interesting. Cool.
Thanks, Netflix.
Good old Netflix. There's so much random shit
Bring
on there.
us bad films we wouldn't have watched without you.
Pretty much. No, you still. It's kind of like when you're going to the video store, like look at the DVDs, and you'd be like, "This DVD cover, it looks so bad. I must watch this."
That's the nice thing about Netflix. It gives you that rotating selection of things you maybe want to watch, depending on your level of desperation. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You're happy.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Why is that separate to everything else?
No, because it's there's nothing else on Netflix I want to watch, but I've got like some time to watch something on Netflix. I'll just watch one again.
I've been watching a lot of documentaries on Netflix. Very interesting ones.
I came in to watch After Porn Ends, and I just haven't got around.
That one isn't interesting,
isn't it?
I
That
started
lets me down.
No, I started watching it as boring as there's no interesting point to it, and it's just shot really shittily. It's just like really shit interviews with porn stars that don't do porn anymore.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm not watching it. Thank you for saving me from
I watched like 20 minutes of it or something, and I was like, this is terrible. Hot Girls Wanted is a
better porn documentary?
Pretty big documentary because it got a lot of awards at Sundance. And that's about the amateur porn industry in Miami. With like, it's amateur as in like, they're not really amateur, but it's just like, oh, let's get random chicks off Craigslist that are like girl next door looking and like film stuff with them, and their like average shelf life is like 3 months. And it's like this industry where they're just like churning out these young girls that want to do porn
and never do porn again after they've done one film or 2 films or something.
And that was really interesting. That was really cool. And there was another one that was, I think it's only on US Netflix. It's called Tricked, and it's about the pimp prostitute sort of situation in America and how fucked up it is with the pimps, and how it's just like sex slavery.
That's the problem with not having legalized prostitution.
Kind of like, we have legalized prostitution in Australia, and it doesn't seem to be bad like that. But I think if they just legalized prostitution in America, that wouldn't solve the problem. Like that wouldn't
maybe.
Like the whole point of like legalizing it is that it gives the women more.
It gives a safe outlet for that line of work. Cause,
that's the idea.
There's brothels and they're regulated.
And then
blah,
like
blah, blah, blah,
if there is shit that is bad, like the girls can go to the police and they don't get arrested for it
for having been a prostitute.
Yeah, but then that whole pimp culture isn't going to go anywhere because that's really fucking terrible and just deeply built into their world. But yeah, that was like a really scary documentary, and at the end it's like, yeah, there's like 10 million people like in the sex slavery sort of human trafficking like around the world, which is more people in slavery than any other time in history ever. And you're like,
I've heard that statistic before, and it's an interesting one.
Because you think about what was the time period in America with that?
Prior to the 1800s, so like the 17th.
We can say prior to Civil War because we know that that's pretty solid of being prior to that, because that's what the Civil War was about. But that was like, you think that was such a huge thing, but it's not really on the scale of like what's going on now, which is weird. Because everyone thinks that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore, and that like the world's better now. But it's like, but it's a lot more people and a lot more shit going on.
And again, that in a really weird, odd way that I'm even saying this with that whole legalized or not legalized thing.
You're going to say something terrible that I'm going to be ashamed of, David, on this podcast?
Well, no, I was just going to say, it's like, well, that was slavery and they were slaves.
Mm-hmm.
But because there were slaves and you could openly have slaves, there wasn't this thing of abuse because they were worth something to you.
Yeah.
They cost you as much as having like a servant would.
Yeah, totally. And like obviously they got mistreated and shit like that.
Lots would have been massively mistreated.
There would have been those cases because like a lot of people like to make it black and white and be all like, oh, I would never have done that at that time. When it's like, well, if you were brought up in that situation, you probably would have. And in 12 Years a Slave, Benedict Cumberbatch's character is a really good example of that kind of guy who's like, he doesn't necessarily like it, but he's like, I can't just let you go because you are like an asset, and so I need to like sell you on to like make back my money. And so no offense, but like, yeah.
That's just the practicality of the day.
And he didn't do anything bad to them, and he didn't necessarily agree with slavery as much.
That film does a really good job of showing like the sides of the situation.
Yeah. Because it isn't just like, oh no, I know better now, so...
I need to watch that again. It's a very good film.
It's a very good movie. Really, really full on. Do you just want to leave it on that down note?
Yup.
Slavery.
Slavery. Not as bad in the past as it is now.
Wah, wah, wah.
We're all doomed. Speaking of being doomed, I heard some crazy thing that's just been popping up in the last couple of days where they're like, yep, in 15 years, Ice Age happening. Mini Ice Age happening in 15 years. It's
that
confirmed.
whole mini Ice Age thing, though.
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Theoretically, we're apparently in a mini Ice Age now, which started in the 1600s. So there's just like another level of it? What? I don't understand. Because I remember hearing that in high school.
I don't understand it
by
at
the
all. I
science
just saw
teacher.
people's Facebook posts of like sharing articles and pictures and being
It's
oh, fucking global warming, we're having an ice age and stupid things like that.
no, it has to do with sun activity. Because it's like the difference between an ice age and like it's called a mini ice age because there's lower sun activity, so there's less heat coming from the sun to heat the earth. So the earth
lazy ass sun
will
not giving
drop
us enough
like
heat.
5 degrees because the sun's a constant reaction. It can obviously dip down, and then after being dipped down for a while, there's enough shit, and then it picks back up again. And it'll probably be even hotter or something afterwards. But
I think it's
there's going to be like a 20-year period or 10-year. I can't remember what the length of time is where degrees are going to the temperature's going to drop like a decent amount on average.
so. What you're saying is, winter is coming.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Those memes are going to be everywhere.
Did you see the new pictures of Pluto?
No.
Beautiful pictures of Pluto.
No, I didn't.
What's it called? What's the
New
satellite?
Horizons is nearly there.
No,
So-
yeah, it was,
was
pretty
there,
Much, it's
in
pretty
fact.
much there. It's been going for
Event
9 years.
Horizon.
It's been going for 9 years, and it's
Whoa.
reached Pluto and taking really high quality images of it, and it's like this yellowy color.
Really?
Yeah,
I always remember it like in like Magic School Bus explores the solar system and all sorts of like other cartoony things that you would. It was always just the little grey one.
yeah.
I remember it being blue for some reason.
I remember it being
Yeah, a
blue.
bit blue maybe.
But that's because we never had very good imagery of it. And
Yeah,
it kinda
even-
just looks blue.
Even
as
like
a
the
result.
Hubble can only take a blurry little
yeah.
picture of it.
So basically, it's like we used to think Halo. I was going to say Halo. We used to think Pluto was like a bluey grey, like Aliens, but really it's like a browny yellow, like Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection.
to use alien films as the only point of sci-fi reference, absolutely. And we also now know its size, which weirdly we didn't really know until now.
That's weird. If we were like, no, it's not a planet, it's a planetoid. How are we able to like get rid of it as a planet if we didn't actually know its size
because
properly?
it's still like significantly smaller than the cutoff point that's decided of being a planet or not.
And then it's
It's
still
just that-
basically like, oh, this is just some asteroid.
You know
that
how
was
there's
large.
I think
that
you say
is.
Ceres, Ceres, which is the other planetoid out in that direction.
Oh yes.
And we weren't sure which one was bigger. But now that New Horizons is so close, it's got better data on Ceres and like absolutely perfect data on Pluto.
So Pluto's got a big swinging
And
dick,
it's a bit bigger.
Ceres isn't.
Although it's weird because Ceres is actually denser. There is more mass in Ceres. Even though
You know what they
it's
say?
smaller.
It's not the size, it's the density.
Yeah, it's very true.
But the best thing to come out of the Pluto pictures is all the memes. Not really. It's just funny how like these days anything big happens.
They're trying to make memes of it.
Just memes everywhere over the internet. Like someone's put a picture. I mean, they're funny. So I guess they are.
'Cause
But it's
I
just,
can't really imagine what you could like
Oh,
put
so-
captions on a picture.
no,
of
but there's
Pluto
a
to make
picture
it
of
funny.
Pluto, like the high red. They released a really nice looking picture of Pluto, and someone's gone and put death. It just looks like a Death Star, but it's it's like we've finally got a new picture of Pluto.
That's no moon.
And
We've got
then,
pictures of its moons too on that subject.
Oh, nice.
but just it's so funny. Like anything major event that happens these days is just
Caption it.
just the memes that come up.
Yep.
It's like, oh my god, stop.
And so many. And
You gotta go
sometimes
viral.
one floats up.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, the whole Reddit thing, that happened.
Yeah, I didn't even understand what was going on with that.
It's way too
Like
confusing.
one guy left, and then people
No, it
had
was-
a problem, and they like fucking held half of Reddit hostage.
What pissed everyone off is someone did get fired and no one noticed, but then they fired Victoria, who ran all the AMAs.
Oh.
And, you know, like, effectively the internet loves her because she ran the AMAs and was really nice.
AMAs are cool.
Yeah,
Some people
exactly.
like them.
She got fired, and then they realized that someone else had been fired, and then they remembered that they didn't like Ellen Powell because she's the one who's brought in all of these different changes to the rules, and they're like, oh, we hate her, let's put a thing on change.org, which is the most annoying internet phenomenon ever.
It is. It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
It's like, it has no reason. to do it.
Change.org. Let's not get this Metroid game released.
Yeah,
and
let's
you're
not
like,
sell
shut up.
GTA at Kmart or Target, and then they were successful.
That's one that actually did, change stuff.
And it's like, why is anyone paying attention to a thing which is for the US government?
Yeah.
It's pathetic. Anyway, she stepped down in the end. And there's fantastic conspiracy theories that are like, oh, this was all set up by the original Reddit founders after they sold it so that they could get back in control and minimize Condé Nast power over Reddit. And it's like, and it's fantastic in that way that conspiracy theories are, where there's all these steps. It lines up so well. It fits. It must be what's going on.
Yeah. They're like, did you know that the moon landing was faked? And like, they're only moving that slow because if you slow down the footage by, like, if you speed up the footage by like 0.25, then like they're moving at normal human speed. And you're like, isn't that because the gravity on the moon is exactly that amount different? That's just math. That's not. Yeah, they just filmed it in a different frame rate. And
that's why it looks that way. It looks like.
I love how many people go up to Buzz Aldrin and tell him that the moon landing is fake when it is like historically just like known now that he will punch out people for saying that. And he's punched out so many people because they just come up to him and be like, moon landing's not real.
He just hits him.
And he keeps hitting them. And people keep still stupid enough to keep going up to him and telling him it's not real.
It has to be said, if you like having, oh, I got hit by this celebrity as being your pickup line at a party, that's a pretty cool one.
This is the thing I like getting like a celebrity to like, sign their signature on your leg and then going to a tattoo place and getting it tattooed is so boring. I like to get punched in the face and then get the tattoo artist to like tattoo the bruise of their fist into my face permanently. That's how the cool kids do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See this fist on my left cheek? That's from Buzz Aldrin, and this fist on my right cheek, it's from some drummer from a metal band.
Nice reference. You couldn't think
I couldn't remember
a
his
single
name.
other celebrity other than Buzz Aldrin. No.
Can't remember anyone.
Be like, see this?
You punched me.
See this scar?
The Queen.
Prince George.
Like, this is Arnie shivved me here. All right. This has been episode 4 of the METAcast. And yeah, we're on SoundCloud, we're on YouTube, METAgames on YouTube, METAcast on SoundCloud, we're at METAgames AU on Twitter. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/MetagamesAU. And yeah, that's it.
Thanks for listening.
Fucking
Peace out.
have fun till next month.